Hello there. Today I will be ranking all of our players from who I think is most likely to win, to least likely, in a tier list. This will be based on how their game is looking going into next week, their potential long-term prospects, and how I think the edit is factoring into their chances to win or go far. This ranking is my own personal opinion, and will probably change massively from week to week, but these are my thoughts after episode 6. I also want to point out that tiers are not ordered in any particular way. Joining the RIP tier this week is nobody. I'm not sure if there has been an episode of Survivor where nobody has gone home, so this is certainly weird to make a tier list for this week. We will see who goes home as our merge boot, but as it stands I would guess that Sydney or Evie go home. Our first and only E tier this week is Heather, who drops from the D tier from last week. Poor Heather, we really have seen barely any of her this season so far, and this episode is no exception. She drops in tiers this week because her name was thrown out as a potential target, something that is terrible for your game early in the merge. She is on the bottom of the Luvu tribe, but also on the outs of the other tribes, so it seems that she has no real strong alliances at this point. One upside to her challenge weakness is that it could lower her threat level enough that she could skate by, but as it stands Heather is looking very unlikely to win. First up in the D tier this week is Xander, who maintains his placement in the D tier. Xander falls this week because while he can finally vote and use his idol and advantage, he is seemingly on the outs at the merge. He is not an immediate target at this point, but alliances are forming around him and we are not seeing him be a part of anything major. Xander has to worry about people that he trusts on the Ace tribe like Liana turning on him, and can't even rely on his idol to save himself if he wants to. At this point, Xander has a low chance to win unless he can get into a better position in the game. Next in the D tier is Naseer, who drops from the C tier from last week. Last week, it seemed that Naseer was finally able to form a more solid alliance with some of the Luvu tribe, but this week it seems that he is more on the outs of that alliance. Others in the former Luvu tribe such as Danny, Deshawn, and Sydney seem like they are closer to each other than Naseer, and he is not a part of other alliances and connections that have been formed. Naseer was confident that he would be safe, but if the hourglass is smashed this week then he could be in for a surprise. Naseer's idol is not safe, and he could be targeted for being a member of the former Luvu tribe, but it seems he is not on anyone's radar currently. Like Xander, Naseer needs to try to get into a better spot in the game or he might not last long. First in the C tier this week is Erika, who rises from the E tier of last week. Erika has had an incredible amount of power thrust into her hands by being chosen to go live alone for 2 days. We do know that Erika is on the bottom of the Luvu tribe, and she is actively being targeted as an easy first merge boot, but that is unlikely to happen this tribal council. Erika will most likely smash the hourglass, giving herself safety for the next vote, and could potentially save her game. If the group that gets immunity because of her decision is grateful, then Erika could find herself with new allies to work with moving forward in the game, which is why she has risen this week. Erika is still in a dangerous spot, but she has potential to secure herself into a power position after the vote. Next in the C tier is Sydney, who remains in the C tier from the previous week. Sydney is seemingly in a good position in the game at this point, being in a solid spot with Deshawn and Danny, but her position in the game is more precarious than one would maybe expect. Danny and Deshawn are looking to take out women, which is not good for Sydney, and with so few people being eligible to go home at the tribal council she could be looked at as a target. She is also not a part of the alliance of Shan, Liana, Deshawn, and Danny, which means her allies have other allegiances outside of Sydney. Sydney is also a target of Erika, which means that Sydney is potentially in a poor position in the merge. Sydney needs more solid allies at this point or she could be going home very soon. Last in the C tier this week is Ricard, who falls from the A tier from last week. After promising to give the extra vote back to Shan, Ricard was still very hesitant to actually follow through with his promise and give the extra vote back. This is a very poor move from Ricard, as an extra vote is not important enough to potentially ruin a close relationship in the game. Losing a powerful ally in Shan is the main reason for his drop this week, and it seems that other alliances are forming without him. Ricard needs to try to earn back the trust of Shan, or try and work with the men, or try for some other opening at this point, because he is on the outs. Ricard is looking like someone who can go home very soon, but time will tell. First in the B tier this week is Danny, who remains in the B tier from last week. Danny is in a solid spot in the game at this point, and has connections with many people. First, he is looking to work with men and target women, so he is not being looked at as a target at this point. He is also in an alliance now with Shan, Liana, and Deshawn, which could put him in a good spot moving forward as well. I struggle to put Danny higher, as he could be seen as a large challenge threat being a football player, making him a potential target down the line. However, Danny has solid allies at this point, and is looking solid in the game. Next in the B tier this week is Evvie, who remains in the B tier from last week. Evvie is not being targeted at this point, and they have many connections in the Merge tribe. Evvie has connections with the Yace tribe, however that is not as strong as it once was, as it seems they have lost the trust of Tiffany somewhat. Evvie also has a connection with Deshawn from going to the Advantage Island with him, which should put them in a solid position with Deshawn's allies as well. One big knock against Evvie this week is that they are looking to be vulnerable at Tribal Council this week, and the talk of targeting a woman could leave them going home. If Evvie can survive, then they should be well set up to make a deep run into the game. Next in the B tier this week is Tiffany, who falls from the A tier from last week. Tiffany is someone who is slightly lacking in connections compared to some others in the Merge, but is still in a solid position. Tiffany is generally in a good position with the former Yace tribe, and now has knowledge of Liana's knowledge is power advantage. Tiffany also looks to have an ally in Shan, as Shan mentioned the advantage to Tiffany. Tiffany isn't being actively targeted at this point, and she looks to be safe at the upcoming Tribal Council, so she should be safe for some time at this point, and could make a deep run in the game. First in the A tier this week is Deshawn, who rises from the B tier from last week. Deshawn has good connections at this point in the game, having the aforementioned relationship with Evvie from the Advantage Island trip. He is also in an alliance with former Luvo tribe members, and is not looking to be a target at this point. Deshawn is also allied with Danny, Liana, and Shan, which could be a very powerful alliance in the future. Deshawn is looking likely to make a deep run into the game at this point, but time will tell if he wins. Next in the A tier this week is Liana, who remains in the A tier from last week. Liana is well connected at the Merge, and is in a powerful position with her advantage. She is in a very tight duo with Shan, who is the most powerful player in the game at this point. She is also allied with Shan, Deshawn, and Danny, which is looking to be a powerful secret alliance in the future. Liana still has connections with the Yace tribe, however her relationship with Tiffany has been hurt, and Liana still wants to take out Xander. Liana does not seem to be a target at this point, and will be safe at Tribal Council, so she is looking poised to make a deep run into the game. Our sole S tier this week is once again Shan, who has been S tier all season long so far. Shan is the best connected person in the Merge, giving her the most power in the game. Shan has a close duo with Liana resulting from going to Advantage Island with her. She also seems to have used Liana to forge a connection with the Yace tribe. Shan is also in an alliance with Deshawn and Danny, which gives her inroads into the Luvo tribe, and puts her in a safe position in coming weeks. Shan also has her relationship with Ricard, and while strained, it still means that she is connected to nearly everyone in the game at this point, being nobody's target. Shan has an idol and an extra vote, and knows about Liana's advantage and when it could be useful down the line. Shan is in the best position, and is the most likely winner in my eyes. There is my current tier list of who I think is most likely to win and make it far. Keep in mind that these are just my opinions, and I am unspoiled this season, and this is very subject to change.